All right, we always start with a spin. There's your spin, and we are live. Welcome to the Restaurants Grow podcast, where you get tips, tricks, and tactics on how to grow your restaurant business. Chip, what's one thing restaurants can do today to improve their marketing? Like just one thing they can literally do today.
Focus on the people you already have in the restaurant. There are dozens or hundreds of people you have every night. And if you could do a better job of connecting with them and making sure that they are welcome back in, that would change people's businesses to the tune of 10, 15% to the top line.
I guarantee if we ask every restaurant owner, operator, marketer, CEO on the planet, if you could get 20% of your guests to come back one more time, would it change your business? The answer is a universal yes. Do you have a favorite channel for doing any of that?
You know, there are different tactics that I like to use. You know the one I always recommend, right? Which is to scrub the line, right? So I tell restaurant owners, if you want to change your business, scrub the line. Thanks so much. Have a good night. Just don't say it anymore. Wipe it off. Wipe it out of your mind, because it's a lost moment, right? So you say, hey, thanks so much. Have a great night. That doesn't accomplish what you actually need to accomplish, which is to get them back. So if you replace it with, thanks so much, when are we going to see you again? Thanks so much, can we get another reservation on the books? That will go so far. Because when you do that, as people are on their way out, they only think a week or two in advance. They go, hey, when are we going to see you again? Let's get another reservation on the books. Immediately, they think of what they got going on this upcoming weekend, what they got coming on 2 weekends from now. And they go, oh, I got those clients coming in from town. Oh, babe, your sister's coming in. We didn't know where we were going to take them. Yeah, let's bring them here. They will think of things. I always find it's about a 20% success rate. So 4 out of 5 tables will say no. But that 1 out of 5 will just say, yeah, actually, and they'll think of something that they've got coming up, and that's your 20% number. So if you can get 20% of your current reservation book to rebook in the next, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks, it's a profound change to your business.
Amen. I'm going to a restaurant tonight that takes reservations. I'm actually going to ask them on the way out, how come you didn't ask me if I want to make another reservation? All right, Brian, what's one thing restaurants can do today to improve their marketing? Like literally a quick tip just like that.
Yeah. So I'm going to agree with Chip from that. Certainly critical, and manage your table visits. It's a lost art, or actually talking to people and thanking them for their business. But I'm going to say be curious. And when I say be curious is never be satisfied. There's a lot of marketing options out there. I know time's the biggest commodity for every operator, marketer. But if you're just satisfied with what you're doing, not looking what else is out there or how can you get better, you're never going to win. So be curious to find new guests.
Amen. What's up, Dean? All right, I'm going to give mine. Update your link in bio. Open up your Instagram right now, and your TikTok and your Facebook and whatever social channel you're using, and make sure that your bio has like all the links that you need for the calls to action you're making in your social media. So if you say, hey, place an order online, put a link to order online in your bio. If you say book for catering, see a link for catering, join loyalty, whatever the thing is. And because Instagram only gives you like 2 or 3, if you need more, go get something like link in bio. I happen to prefer Milkshake app. I think Milkshake app is the best link in bio thing out there. But take 10 seconds to go look at your link in bio and social today and make sure all of the links that need to be there from your CTAs and social are there. And also, if you're like CTAs and social, you should do that too. Put calls to action in your social. All right, let's do some quick intros. Chip, 3-5 sentences. Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, short and sweet. So I'm the host of the Restaurant Strategy Podcast. I'm the author of The Restaurant Marketing Mindset. And I'm the founder of something called the P3 Mastermind, which is a group coaching program which helps increase the profitability for independent operators. That's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Brian, 3 to 5 sentences. Who are you? What do you do?
Yes, Brian Siemienas, Vice President of Marketing at NIFT, Vice President of Restaurant Solutions for NIFT. And we are here to help restaurants generate awareness, drive traffic, grow their database, and get butts in seats, ultimately customer acquisition.
Okay. Now, I think everybody that listening needs to know what you were doing before this, what your pedigree was, like why we wanted you on this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I've sat in the marketer. I've sat in that hot seat. I was CMO at Margaritaville and Land Shark restaurants in the U.S., was VP of Marketing and Culinary for Franchise International for Darden, and was with Hard Rock as head of global marketing for the cafe division.
Yeah, see, you got some pedigree. By the way, next time you come to New York City, I've been seeing this on TikTok. I'm not going to do it until you do it with me. There's a Margaritaville down the block from Handcraft Burgers and Brew, my restaurant, and there are people that are pub crawling it because it's multiple levels.
Yes.
I want to do it with you. Chip, you're definitely invited, and anybody else that wants to come, but I want to go pub crawl the Margaritaville in Times Square with you.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've been up there, Rev. The best bar in New York, I would argue, is the rooftop bar at the Margaritaville Resort. It's fantastic, and I will absolutely grab a drink with you up there, and we can go through the different floors of the different restaurants.
Gonna pub crawl the margarita. I can't wait. Awesome. Well, hey, everybody, if you don't know me, my name is Rev Ciancio. I'm the host of the Restaurants Grow podcast. I'm the co-owner, co-founder and CMO of Handcraft Burgers and Brew in New York City. I'm the CMO of Salad House, and I help restaurants with their marketing for a living. If you ask my mom what I do, she would probably tell you I put pictures of pizza on the internet, and she's not entirely wrong. So we're here to help you with some tips, tricks, and tactics to help grow your marketing. We got something cool we also really want to talk about. Chip, what's something that restaurants are doing wrong with their marketing? Like what do you see all the time that you're like, oh, come on, like why are we still doing this?
So one of the things, and I'm going to let everybody off the hook here, right? Let's give everybody some slack here because restaurant owners have it really hard. There's a lot they have to do. There's a lot of hats they have to wear. I think one of the things that we can just shift is the shift from here's all the stuff that everybody tells me I should be doing when it comes to marketing my restaurant, and work it in reverse order, reverse engineer it and say, what are the things I actually need to accomplish? I talk about this in my book, but there's really only 3 things we need to do. We need to focus on customer acquisition. So raise awareness, build trust, convince people to try you over all the other places that they know and already love. So that's the first piece, customer acquisition. And customer retention, right? How do you get them back? How do you convince them that this was good enough and worth repeating over and over? And that's an ongoing process. And then the last piece is I always call evangelism, right? Which is how do you get people to go spread the word about you? Be so moved by the experience. They're like, I got to tell somebody. I got to take a photo, a video. People aren't going to believe this. So I wish more restaurant owners worked that in reverse order and said, okay, I got to get people in. I got to figure out a way to get all those people back and get people coming back with greater frequency. And I got to make sure everybody's talking about us. And when you do that, suddenly then you look at all the stuff, quote unquote, that people tell you have to do as tools to accomplish a goal. So when somebody says, oh, you really have to be doing this, say, okay, I don't know this. Tell me what's that going to accomplish? My first goal, my second goal, or my third goal. And so if you're driving towards a goal, then you can also measure it and say, well, I'm trying to accomplish this. I'm going to do the following thing to accomplish this stated goal. And at the end of 30, 60, 90 days, you say, did it help me accomplish my goal? Did it get me closer or not? If it helped you, you do more of it. If it didn't, you scratch it and you go back to the drawing board. I wish more owners and operators thought in those terms because it's very simple, not easy, but simple what we have to do. We just have to accomplish those 3 goals.
Yeah, I market with intention. And so my thought is always like, if I'm doing something, what's the goal? And so like, if we're promoting catering, it's because I'm trying to grow catering. If we're trying to get more followers on social media, like we have a goal, like whatever the thing is, we just don't do it for the sake of doing it. We do it with a goal in mind. And it usually aligns to awareness, acquisition, retention, or evangelism. 100%.
Rev, there's a reason that you and I hit it off when we met, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, because you were the only other person. I like to think strategically and get people thinking like that. And you think hyper tactically. And you were really the first person who was speaking the same language I was. And to go one further about catering, right? We have to be deliberate about where we're at now and where we want to get you. You can always set a new goal, right? You set a goal, you hit it, you set a new goal. But if we say, hey, we want to grow catering, well, where is catering at now? And why do we want to grow it? So then we can determine when we've achieved success. So that's how the best companies, Brian, you can speak to this. Mm-hmm. This is how the best companies in the world do this. They just don't get lofty or vague and say we need more covers. No. We need a specific amount of covers for us. We need to hit a certain number in top line revenue because that will do the following things to our fixed expenses. We have to be more deliberate and more specific. But Brian, maybe you can piggyback on that.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And I would say probably the best person to phrase it at the tactical execution was Gene Lee at Darden, who I had the privilege of working for. Is frictionless. And Rev, we talked about it when you were on my podcast, is you got to take off at Margaritaville, the rainbow colored glasses. At Darden, we were mainly Olive Garden, internationally franchised, the green colored glasses. You got to do what the consumers want. And I'll use the example. I don't get third party. I don't get deliver. I understand it, but it's horrible food. You're paying overpriced, all these things. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I'm older generation. My kids, that's all they do. So while a marketer will go in and say, okay, as you say, you lay out the goal, you got to understand it from how is a consumer going to be? So in the old days, we used to be able to bombard with messaging and ingrain it in their mind. Nowadays, it's so difficult. So you've got to not view it as I'm a marketer for or an owner of XYZ brand. You got to view it as an outside consumer. How are they going to do it? Because, you know, again, if you're not on what they want, or Rev and I always joke, my favorite, the downloading of the app to join the loyalty, to place an order, I'm gone. I'm gone. You know, you talked about the link. I went the other day, I was going to order something for pickup because, again, I'm old. My kids weren't around. So I was going to go pick it up and pay regular menu, order direct. I had to set up an account. I was gone because there were 5 other options that were just as good. So, you know, to me, it's frictionless. You've got to go from the consumer perspective. And at the end of the day, if you do that, you're still going to accomplish your end goal, which is a button seat driving good, profitable revenue. And that, I think, is one of the big things is you just go, I'm set in my ways. And, you know, under my philosophy, I would never do third party. You got to do it. There's people that only order that way. So that's, you know, to me in a nutshell, what I think is so important.
I got asked this morning, what percentage of people in America actually join restaurant loyalty programs? And I didn't know the answer. So I looked it up, and the stat I read was 36%. I actually think that's high. You tell me that 1 out of 3 people join. I guess 1 out of 3 people could join a loyalty program, but are they joining like a bunch of loyalty programs? No. And like at the end of the day, like most people, I think if they're joining a loyalty program, it's just because like, well, I don't want to miss out on the points.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm not sure that a loyalty program actually increases their behavior unless you're mean it's Dunkin' Donuts. That's a whole
Can we talk about that for a minute? Because I like loyalty. This is a hot button issue, and I've got Brian, I didn't mean to step on your words, but I want to make sure we stay here for a second because I think it's a valuable conversation.
Yeah, no, I was going to say the loyalty, but Rev, keep in mind, is it averages, and as a analytical marketer, McDonald's, every college kid's in there to get their discounts. So McDonald's has, you know, McDonald's be 50, 60%. And then the average restaurant, as you and I have talked, are at 5 to 10%. So, you know, again, averages could distort things greatly when you've got, you know, the Taco Bells, you know, those types that have huge numbers of followings in Starbucks.
So it's funny when we look at loyalty, right? I always tell people, like, I hate loyalty and I love loyalty. The loyalty programs, I don't know that they work for breeding loyalty and repeat visits and all that. When we think of like a really great loyalty program, like any of the airlines, right? I think once you're loyal, like I'm now loyal to an airline because of where I live and the airport that's serviced there. And I get now real perks from there. I'm getting constant upgrades and I get my bags fees waived and all of that. So it makes sense for me to be loyal to them first. Unless I find a deal that's so much cheaper than the one I can find here, it's worth it for me to stay. For the most part, most restaurants, there aren't those sort of huge benefits. I think you're right. People sign up so that they don't miss out on something and all of that. But from a restaurant perspective, it's such an easy way. And I know this is right up your guys' alley. It's such an easy way to collect data. And Rev, I hear you say this all the time, right? Customer acquisition without data acquisition is lost. You didn't get anything. So which goes back to something we used to do years ago, back in fine dining when I used to run the front door of different restaurants in New York City. People would walk in and say, hey, do you have a table for 2? Even if the answer was absolutely, yes, follow me right this way. We stopped and said, yeah, absolutely. What's your name? Let me get you in the system. And what's your phone number? And what's the email? This way we can keep in touch better. And if the answer is no, they don't want to give any of that, they'll just say, but I was doing data acquisition with customer acquisition long before I realized it's because it was a 2 Michelin starred restaurant and it made sense for us to know who everybody was. Now it's just the name of the game. So loyalty is an easy way of saying, hey, would you like to join our loyalty program? It's a no-brainer. And we've then got them to be able to remarket to them later. So there's incredible value there, but it has to come at a certain point in the customer journey. Like right off the bat is not the time to put the ring on. Once you convince them to make the reservation, they come in, they sit, they have a great meal. At the end, you'd be like, hey, do you want to get a little extra? You want to come into, that's the right time to do it. Whether it accomplishes the loyalty goal, I actually don't even really care about it, because if it ensures that we're getting their data, I think that's valuable.
Yeah, just collect email addresses. That's it. Just get people's email addresses. You could do, if you have somebody's email address, there's a lot you can do. You can get them to loyalty. I tell everybody, I'm a marketer, I'm a CMO, I'm a consultant. I've been doing this for years. My golden metric as a CMO for restaurants is CRM growth. How many emails did I get? If I have your email, there's a lot I can do with it. That's it. That's it. All right. We've been out here for 15 minutes. I want to level set here. I want to reset the room. We got a whole bunch of questions. I see Dean and Dennis and Brian here have asked questions, and we're going to answer those questions. But before we get to that, I'm putting a little link here up on the screen. Let me just do this real quick. Okay, it's going to come up and boom. Okay, there's a little link here. It's bit.ly/Chip Rev Playbook. I put a nice little ender on there. Me, Chip, and Brian are going to be at the Florida Restaurant Show and the Pizza Tomorrow Summit on November 6th. Okay. If you're going to that show, or if you're considering going to that show, it's going to be an awesome show. I love this show. You get a lot of proactive restaurants there. You get some really good brands on display. You get some cool pizza tricks and tactics. And the whole show has a great focus on education. The three of us will be on stage Wednesday morning. I believe it's 10:30 in the morning, doing a marketing Q&A, just like this, having a conversation, except that if you're at that show and you're in the audience, you can ask us any question you want about restaurant marketing, any question. If you're going to the Florida Restaurant Show, the Pizza Tomorrow Show in Orlando on the 6th and 7th, come to our marketing Q&A and get any marketing question answered. Now, this link that I put here, okay, later that afternoon, me and Chip, along with Brian and some other friends, are hosting a 3-hour intensive restaurant marketing workshop where not only will you get your questions answered, but we're literally going to give you the playbooks. We're going to give you the frameworks. We're going to tell you how to affect awareness. We're going to tell you what you need to do to increase guest acquisition. We're going to literally tell you like how to do marketing moves that get guests coming back. And we're going to teach you some tactics on evangelism. We're going to literally give you the how-to playbook. Okay. So if you're going to the Florida Restaurant Show, you're going to the Pizza Tomorrow Summit, come to our free Q&A and then sign up for the restaurant marketing playbook. Chip, anything you want to say about it?
I think so much of it is we're going to reverse engineer this. Okay, if we say customer acquisition is important, what are the things that are working right now to acquire new customers? If we say retention is a worthwhile pursuit, what are the things I can do and how do I do it, right? It's what to do, why it works, how to make it work. Same thing with evangelism. If I say, hey, I want to get people talking about me, great food, great service is no longer enough to get them talking. We're going to give you the things. We're going to point to a lot of examples out there. It's the best part of when we do the things, when you and I do this. It's blah, blah, blah. This is what you should do. And you don't have to take my word for it. Here's a massive company that does it the same way. And here's where we stole this from. And here you can look, you see it out there in the wild. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just look at smarter people who have much bigger marketing budgets and just see what they're doing and try to dial in why they decided to do that and why it works. And so if you want 3 hours worth of playbooks, you'll leave that Florida show with a clear idea of what we need to do, why it works, and how you can put it into practice.
Amen. It's the reason we asked Brian to join us. Brian works for a company called Nift. We use Nift at Handcraft Burgers and Brew. I've done the data. We use Nift to help us literally in our sleep generate new guests and awareness. I've done the deep dive on the data. The guests that come to us via Nift that are using it have a 5 times higher LTV than some of my regular guests coming through other channels. I don't have to do anything but turn it on and I get 5 times LTV. That's the kind of stuff that if you come to this show, by the way, you should just check out Nift anyway. But when you come to the show and you come to the Restaurant Marketing Playbook workshop, that's what we're going to show you. Things that actually work, how to use them, and the examples. Brian, what do you bring into the show?
Yeah, I mean, for the show, to me, for those that attend, and I love going to shows because you get caught up in your day-to-day fire, burning things over, and you just don't have time to think of what to do, what to interact with. And some of the greatest ideas may have been, simple, like, how did I not think of that? Well, because you're not in that mind frame. So it's one of those that when you have others around sharing, just gives you that time to, okay, focus. I'm not going to worry about all the other things that normally I would. And you're able to talk, as you said, ask questions of us. And at the end of the day, we've all been in those shoes. And, we may not have all the answers, but to your point, there's a lot of answers I've gotten from people that I wasn't even in that mind frame at conferences. So it's invaluable and one of those things that you can walk away from there and make an immediate impact on your business by activating, what we talk about.
Love
Rev,
it. All
one of
right,
the things
guys.
that you always talk about is low effort, high impact, right? So we're all busy. Time is a commodity that we don't have enough of. So what are the things I can do that are simple to put into practice, or what's the easy button that'll run in the background that I can make the highest impact, which I think is worth mentioning?
Yes, I call that the magic circle. High impact, low effort. All right, we got a couple questions here. I'm going to take this link off the screen, but it's in all the comments below. All right, we got a question here from Brian Meredith. Hello, Brian. Brian lives in Florida. I think he will be at the show. And if he's not, Brian, get to the show. We want to see you. He wants 3 great short growth ideas. Brian, short growth idea.
Short growth, I would say go check what you're currently doing. Check the links, check your Google business, make sure everything's working, everything's proper. There was nothing. I had a couple locations at Margaritaville that literally had links that weren't working. And when we fixed those, it was an immediate impact. And it's, again, something that you think's all good, or even the Google Maps. They switch things around in the algorithm. I had 4 locations that were taking you that we weren't. So simple little details that are time consuming, but so important because that's how a lot of people will find your restaurant.
Amen. I love that. I'm a local search guy, so I appreciate that. Chip, a great short growth idea.
Yeah, optimize your website. And by this, I mean, I'm going to make it easier than you think.
An email sign up button?
Easier than this. Be very clear what people are supposed to do when they land on your website. If you're quick service, fast casual, it's probably order online. If it's a full service restaurant, it's probably make a reservation. That is the action. Almost exclusively, it's one of those 2 things. You figure out what your restaurant is trying to do. P.S. You pull up your P&L and see where most of your revenue is coming from. If it's coming from dine-in guests, you want them to make a reservation. If it's coming from online orders, counter service, then you want them to place online orders. Figure out what that is and make it absolutely abundantly stupid clear. Make it frictionless. That somebody lands there, it's very clear what you want them to do, and it's very easy for them to do that. You'd be amazed at the number of websites that you go through, and it's not intuitive. And then you look at people who do it really well. 3 favorite websites, right? Mighty Quinn's Barbecue, mightyquinsbbq.com. It is so simple, streamlined, straightforward. Gramercy Tavern, if you want a full service fine dining example, gramercytavern.com. It is so stupid, simple. It's obvious what they want you to do. And then Chipotle. There are calls to action all the way down that main page. It's really hard to click anything on that homepage that doesn't send you to a revenue generating area.
Thank you for mentioning one of the restaurants I work with, which you didn't. All right. Those are great. I got one. I was going to say some of the things you guys said, so we'll come up with another one. Run Google search ads. I cannot express the value of Google search ads. Somebody goes into Google and they go hot wings near me or steak near me or steakhouse or pizza or Indian, whatever they've searched for. Why would you not pay to buy that click? Right? I got restaurants who are doing CPC on Google search ads on a $5 a day budget with about 20 targeted keywords. We're getting that click for 12 cents. Somebody has gone to Google and said, I want to eat this food right now. And I get them to click to my restaurant for 12 cents all day, every day long. Brian,
which loops right into what I was just saying, so that if they click there and they go to the website, it's abundantly clear what they're supposed to do next.
Brian says he's speaking the same time we are. Well, Brian, I'm sorry about that. You'll have to talk to the organizers. That was a good question. Okay, we got another question here. He is saying, for our good buddy Dean, they're just trying to keep the sign open on the door. I get that. What's one thing I can tell my independents they can do today? That's kind of what we've been doing this whole show. And Dean, I would tell you and your restaurants to come to the Florida Restaurant Show, come to our Q&A session at 10:30 a.m. and ask all those questions, and then get a ticket to the Restaurant Marketing Playbook, because we'll literally tell you how to do that. But Chip, you got one more you can throw at us?
If you could focus on identifying first-time diners, right? So there's this crazy statistic. It's been thrown out for the last couple of years. 70% of all first-time diners will never return to the restaurant ever, never, ever, ever, ever. And if you could change that from 70% to 60%, it represents a profound impact to your top line. So if you could say, hey, I want to fix that number, two things have to happen. You have to identify the first-time diners, and then you've got to do something that will get those first-time diners back. Come to the playbook. We'll talk about that. But there is something you can do. There's something that I like to do that works every single time that fixes that number. But I think anybody listening to this is probably creative enough, smart enough to come up with something. You just have to walk over and say, hi, I understand it's your first time here. Is that true? What made you come in tonight? Perfect. And then you put something in their hand. You give them something. You make it so that they will come back.
Amen. All right. He's asking for something that they can do today in short. I would tell you, go look into direct mail. If your restaurant is not in an urban area, like it won't work in New York City, but if your restaurant is out in the burbs, direct mail. Go call my buddy Kevin at Mailwise. He'll tell you exactly what to do. Won't charge you a dime. Direct mail works. What's the first thing that you hand a guest when they walk into your restaurant? It's a full service restaurant. What's the first thing we hand them?
The menu.
A menu, right? So you essentially can send the menu to their house and put the menu in their hand before they walked in the restaurant. Like, how is that not the most powerful move? Brian, you got one quick, short, easy move?
Yeah, you sort of stole mine, but I was going to say flyering. Would do that in a couple markets, and depending, obviously, on your landscape, whether it's flyering, extend your storefront if you're maybe a half a block off of traffic, or even go to area businesses if you don't have the awareness. Make people aware, and sampling as well is always a great thing. If you got catering ability, there's no better way than to drop some food off at your local businesses. So I'd leave that one.
All right. I'm going to give a plug for Nift since you're with us. I love Nift. We literally turned it on in May of 2023 at Handcraft Burgers and Brew. We get buttloads of awareness, local awareness. And then, like I said, the guests that actually use the Nift to come in have a 5 times LTV. I think that's pretty amazing. We talk more about that. You should message Brian. Guys, we got a couple minutes left here. We got this question here from Taylor, who's asking, can the restaurant marketing playbook be viewed online? It cannot. Okay. If you want the restaurant marketing playbook, you got to go to the Florida Restaurant Show / Pizza Tomorrow Summit in Orlando on the 6th of November. Again, we're doing a free Q&A session. It's in the middle of the show. Come out on the floor. You can ask Brian any question. You can ask me a question. You ask Chip any question. And then I think the upgrade is like $150 out of whatever. It's pretty cheap. But then for 3 hours, we're going to sit in a room and literally show you the things. So it's not going to be recorded. You have to be at the show. Okay, we're going to answer one more question here from John. How can you drive guests to your website from third-party order sites? Should I go, or you guys got something?
Rev, go. You thought so deeply about this.
Okay, so you cannot, right? But can you convert them to order from you directly? You can, and there's a number of things. Number one, increase your prices on third-party, right? Your prices on third-party should be 20 to 25% higher than they are on your online ordering. Number one. Number two, only put your greatest hits. Don't put your entire menu on third party. Just put the really, really popular items and the really cool specialty dishes. Make that available on your website only. Number three, you got to get them to convert, which means you have to get their information. I like Ovation. That's a great tool, but you can put a bag stuffer in there with a QR code. Don't put a QR code in them that gives them 10% off their next order. You know what happens to that? Circular file. Put a QR code on there that takes them to a landing page that collects their name and email address so you can email them that code. How's that for an answer? All right, we got to wrap this up. This is a 30-minute show. That's the whole idea here. Chip, anything last you want to throw in before we get going?
No, I'm really excited about the event down in Florida. I think it's going to be really cool. I love that we can just show people the strategy behind it and then just show them the tactics that actually work to accomplish that strategy. I hope we get a whole bunch of you guys in the room because it's going to be great.
Amen. And we're bringing Brian, who's done marketing for Hard Rock Cafe and Olive Garden and Margaritaville. Like, Brian knows exactly what he's doing, so he's going to bring some extra tips, tricks, and tactics. So, Brian, any closing thoughts here before we bust out?
I look forward to both of you coming to the hometown. No hurricanes on the horizon, knock on wood. So, and then if anyone obviously is interested in NIFT who isn't able to attend the conference, you can reach out to me direct on LinkedIn and DM me. I would be more than happy to talk to you.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the Restaurants Grow podcast. Again, if you're going to be at the Florida Restaurant Show or you're thinking about going to the Florida Restaurant Show Pizza Tomorrow Summit, come to our free marketing Q&A, get all your marketing questions answered, and sign up for the Restaurant Marketing Playbook. It's going to be awesome. You're going to walk out there and be like, we are about to grow huge in 2025. Brian, thank you. Chip, thank you. Thank you, everybody that tuned in, and everybody asked all the great questions. Make it a great, tasty day.